بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد إن معه جبل خبز ونهر ماء Dajjal will move with a mountain of bread, provisions, risk, sustenance. He will have control of the resources of food, sustenance. وَنَهْرَ مَاءٍ, and the water reserves on earth will be under his control. فَيَأْمُرُ السَّمَاءَ فَتُمْطِرُ, he'll command the heavens, it will rain. When he decides water should be given to any group, people, locality, nation, he'll press the button. وَالْأَرْضَ فَتُنْبِتُ, likewise the food reserves will be under his control. When he decides food should be given, people will get. When he decides nobody gets anything, anybody who wants anything will be under his control. So Dajjal will have these reserves, and the word Dajjal, a master deceiver, a swindler, a conman, a trickster. But such a trickster that a person doesn't know that he's been tricked. So a magician does a trick. It's deception. So his deceptive nature, his scam, his level of conning will come to that stage where a man will come home, tie his wife, tie his mother, tie his sister, so that they don't join Dajjal. His influence will be so great, he will have such a impact on humanity that in a believer's house, in a person who has Iman, his wife, his mother, his family will be so influenced and swayed by this deception that a man will have to handcuff them. And today already the prelude of these platforms are visible in front of us, where a husband is so glued on to the net, to those porn sites, to those dating sites, that his wife has to handcuff him. He has to handcuff his wife, means stop them, confiscate the computer, confiscate the phone. The children will be so stuck onto it that even though there is a no phone policy and they haven't been exposed to it, they'll want it all the time. And the parents will have to stop them from it. So such a trickery that it will destroy the entire family structure. Women will become widows overnight. Children will become orphans overnight. They will have parents, but they are orphans because they are online, they are on these platforms engaged. Parents won't have children because their children are not theirs. They're busy thumbs up on the thumbs up platforms. So such a level of conning, such a level of trickery that we won't know, we won't have an idea that we are being conned, and will happily, Allah protect one and all, sell our souls, sell our Iman. When a person really believes in something, he's ready to give everything for it also. Like there was a story who was on a bicycle, a man crossing the US border from Mexico, and he was carrying a very heavy sack. So the border guard, the customs officials interrogated him, "What's in the sack?" He said, "Sand, nothing to worry about." The guard checked, and after inspection he found it was only sand. The man was allowed to go. A week later he appeared again with a heavy sack. "What's in the sack?" "Sand." Checked, verified, still sand. Let the cyclist through. Then the intervals twice a week, thrice a week, and then literally every day he was coming with a sack and sand. They checked properly, they did samples, they did testing, they did laboratory tests, that there must be something in here, but they didn't find anything. What is this man smuggling? So it so happened that one day the border control person met this cyclist in a restaurant, and he said, "You've driven us crazy for the last 6 months, and after you stopped showing up now, we got no clues, we didn't bust you, our days and nights just revolved around you. We just waited for every day when you came, and then one day you stopped coming. So we were sure you were smuggling something, but in that sand we never found anything. So there's definitely something you're up to. So in confidence, I won't leak out any information and I won't tell anybody. Tell me what you were on about. So were you smuggling anything in the first place?" He says yes. The man said, "Okay, what was it?" Waiting in this anticipation. Bicycles. That's what I was smuggling in. So the deception is such a level that even the experts in the field that presume they know it all and they're good at it are far from where they should be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now, while we have the health, while we have the time, while we have the resources, while we have the wealth, while we have these faculties, we need to utilize it in the correct avenues. And yet this is a shukr, this is a gratitude to show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are grateful for these bounties, and we will use these bounties in those avenues which Allah, you have stipulated. Allah will protect one, Allah will increase one in those bounties, and Allah will give a person afiyat. Jafar bin Muhammad used to say, "Ma an'ama Allahu ala abdin ni'matan fa'arafaha biqalbihi." Whatever bounty you are bestowed with, and in your heart sincerely you believe and you are grateful to Allah, وَشَكَرَهَا بِلِسَانِهِ, and you display gratitude to Allah, فَيَبْرَهُ حَتَّى يَزْدَادِ, these bounties will continue coming, and not only that, but Allah will increase it. Umar bin Aziz used to say, قَيِّدُ النِّعَمْ بِالشُّكْرِ. If you really want to secure these bounties, so we generally think and identify bounties as dunyawi bounties, which rightfully is so, but more than that is the bounty and the ni'mah of iman, the bounty and the ni'mah of Islam, the bounty and the ni'mah of ita'at and obedience, the bounty and the ni'mah of abstaining from sin, etc. So if you want to procure these bounties, then show Allah you are grateful with your heart, with your tongue, with the actions that you are doing. Suleyman Darani rahimahullah, you say, istajlib ziyadat al-ni'am bi-shukr. If you really want to draw more bounties, you want to draw from the khazan of Allah, then show your gratitude. And if you want these bounties to perpetuate, then fear its removal. Allah has given us a bounty, you got vision, you can see, use it to read Quran. Because a person who loses eyesight, what difficulties he has to go through. So every bounty, know the value of it and worry about losing that bounty. So coming back to Dajjal, we see that the ball is in motion as well. And let's just take one foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So in 1994 the foundation was formed, and by the 2000s it grew substantially to 2 billion. So moving in time, in the name of humanity, in the name of the Messiah, the Savior, that same Dajjali words, that same Dajjali description, he is the Messiah. Messiah is somebody who comes to save, to salvage the hero of the time. So the prelude to Dajjal, we will see many of these fake messiahs. So in May 2002 they purchased stocks in pharmaceutical companies, from Johnson & Johnson to Merck to Pfizer. So again, from the food, water reserves as well. Pharmaceuticals is like a food because tablets we consume as well. So that avenue of that mountain in the pharmaceutical industry as well, he will control it. And 2006, Mr. Gates announced his plans that now he's done with Microsoft, and he wanted to devote his time to the foundation. So even in 2005, so he was named amongst the Time magazine's Persons of the Year for their outstanding charitable work. So currently now, I mean, the fund has grown significantly, but by 31st December 2020, the endowment was worth around $50 billion. So you must remember, President Trump threatened to withdraw funding for the WHO, and the second biggest contributor to the World Health Organization was the foundation. So if they are providing almost 45% of the WHO's funds and 12% of the total operating expenditure of the WHO, then there's conflict of interest. And they have initiated a lot of projects, and that would be completely against Shariat, and we discussed it in one of the series where Isa alayhi salam will destroy pork, but we're saying not specifically pigs, but everything connected to that, where they've made your china, your everyday items, pork items. So everything that Deen has forbidden, Dajjal is here to make it alive, the contrary. So take an example, the Omni processor, which is a combustion based system, and this turns the fecal sludge, so your feces, that sludge into energy, into drinking water, into a fertilizer to be used in your foods, etc. So they want feces now to be consumed, and in the name of the sanitation crisis, the foundation had initiated projects with regards to this. Likewise, if we look at the microbial fuel cell stack, so this converts urine. So different inventions and how the urine now could come back into the system. Now if we look at Satanism and the satanic cult, part of a sahir, a witch, a magician, a witch doctor, somebody who specializes in satanic rituals, for him to progress, he has to consume urine and feces, and some of the rituals are connected to that, blood, etc. So whatever is napaak in Deen, they are trying to purify it and legitimize it. So just one example. Then take for the libraries. So they introduced an initiative where they are saying that the world needs to have access to the internet. They're saying that the library is now being destroyed, the libraries, the people are not getting time to go, so we want to put it online and we need to give you the internet. But that's again moving our Islamic kitabs onto online, etc. So we are dependent on their systems. So we need to stick to hard copies, not e-copies. So the foundation has given grants to and install computers, software, training, technical support. Nationally, they say they want to increase knowledge, but in this digital age, they want to digitalize you, and that comes connected to the series of transhumanism. Then move on to education. So the education system is already corrupt, but they want to corrupt it more. So the Gates Foundation is overhauling the education policies. So from your normal school into your college levels, from support for teachers to the charter of the school to the education system to the syllabus, they've got their fingers in everything. Just in 2009 they spent $373 million, and if we go to date, if we look at by 2017 they spent around $1.7 billion in public education. So that's a big sector which they fund in, pump in money, because when you control the youth, you control their future. Then any people that aligns with their ideologies as well, they align with them, they support them as well. So if we look at 2019, the foundation gave its goalkeepers Global Goal Award, and they are goalkeepers, gatekeepers. One example is the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was given an award. So even though a petition of 100,000 people that demanded that they rescind the award, but it never happened because there was records of human rights abuses, and many organizations were aware of this here. So you actually legitimizing oppression. And if we look at the assets, around $50 billion, and then obviously to control different people, different countries, they fund it. So the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research, they fund that as well, so for food security, etc. So in 2016 the Gates Foundation was accused of distorting international development, and in a report, Global Justice Now, the entire report documents how they manipulating policies, they globalizing the world in the name of charity. And in 2014, since its inception, if you look at it, alone around $23.9 billion have been spent. So just in that short period, and they supporting around 100 countries. And on their website alone, 2000 to 2014, 6,210 grants were given. 6,210 grants. So on a global level, they've got their fingers on everything, and we are just taking things for granted and going with the flow. His personal wealth was around almost $80 billion. That's 30 million times the average wealth of the poorest 3.2 billion adults in the world. He is actually richer than 45 sub-Saharan African countries. One man, 45 countries. So where a person has accrued such wealth and allowed to support these structures, so there's a global economic system. This has allowed 1% of the world's people to own half of the world's wealth. And if you look at the poorest half of the world's population, 3.5 billion people own as much as 80 individuals on earth. So you've got put 80 people on one side of the scale and 3.5 to 4 billion people on the other side. These 80 own more than them. So and then people think, okay, he is giving in charity, but if you look at it over time, if it's on the Forbes report, So at that stage where he was in 2011 56 billion to moving to 2015, moving on to almost 18 billion, 80 billion. That's an increase in 23 billion per annum. Now if you take a 23 billion per annum and distribute it per year, even if he's giving 3-4 billion a year, it's nothing because his wealth has already accrued at that time. So the accrual of his wealth, if you look at it progressively, then he's not really giving much, but by his publicity he's gaining much because he's using these platforms and people are supporting him, etc. So it's a big deception and we need to see through it. Likewise, influencing global policies, etc. So we need to be vigilant, we need to start preparing, we need to do what needs to be done. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of making amal. The amal for today is to read salat with jama'ah and to be very specific for fajr and isha salat. The fuqaha have written that it was notorious that the munafiqeen were not particular about isha and fajr salah, the hypocrites in Medina Munawwara. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of making amal wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.